Welcome everyone that's joining us. We're just going to give it a few minutes for people who have registered to join us live online before we kick off. So I'll give it a couple of minutes. Welcome everybody to the Turbine Art Fair's launch event of the Talks program for 2021. The Turbine Art Fair Art Talks, always a solid program. And we are launching the Talks program, which will continue on through September and October, with a talk about the role of art awards in the South African art ecosystem. We're joined by a distinguished panel this evening. We have representation from various parts of the art ecosystem. We have Dr. Baylis, we have Bekie Ntini from Dr. Baylis from Absa, Bekie Ntini from the Northwood Photo Workshop, and artist and entrepreneur, I think we can call you, Blessing Ngubeni. My name is James Sey. I am the convener of the Arts Talks program for the Turbine Art Fair this year. For those of you who are not aware of me, I am an arts writer, art theorist, previously long-term art academic, an arts journalist, critic, sometime curator and artist myself. Spent a long time at UJ, hundreds of monographs, catalogue entries, etc., and newspaper and public articles. And I am now with a company called Art Hit, which is an art advisory vehicle, and we are launching programs under that banner, one of them being the curatorial program for the Art Talks at Turbine Art Fair this year. So without further ado, I want to just give a very brief preamble, because we want to get on to listening to the people who matter on the topic, about the role of art awards in the South African art ecosystem. Obviously, any art ecosystem around the world features art awards as a crucial vehicle for not only the support of artists within that ecosystem, but as a system whereby the art itself can be given credibility and legitimacy in public forums. So it adds to the critical apparatus around artworks, and art awards play important roles across art ecosystems around the world at various stages of the art value chain, whether it's for emerging artists who are given their first step up the ladder by achieving through an award wherever it might be, or whether it's mid-career artists who are given legitimacy, or even late career artists who are crowned with more authoritative award status. Another feature of awards around the world, art awards around the world, is that they are specific to different mediums. So, there are a number of prestigious photography awards, for example, painting awards, portrait awards, sculpture, etc., where the specialization in the medium becomes an important part of the judging process, which is always a difficult terrain to negotiate. I'm sure all of tonight's speakers will address that. But we want to focus on art awards as a positive step for the art ecosystem and the industry, and for artists entering or maneuvering their way through the market. South Africa, in particular, since that's where we're going to kick off, is very well served by the art awards phenomenon. There have been many prestigious art awards vehicles over the years, and they still exist. They're still on the go, and they exist across the spectrum. There are institutional awards, there are corporate awards, and there are artist and gallery generated awards that operate at various different levels of the art infrastructure. So we're getting a fair representation of that spectrum tonight. Our first speaker I want to hand over to. How the talks are going to work this evening is that we'll have all three of our speakers briefly introduced. They will then address a wide range of topics around the role of art awards from their own unique perspectives for 10 to 15 minutes, and we will have a general Q&A at the end. So if everyone who is attending and is online could forward their questions, I will be able to field those, and we will discuss them in open forum at the end of the session. So our first speaker this evening is Dr. Paul Baylis from Absa. Paul is the specialist art curator at Absa, where he served since 2011, and he's responsible for the management of Absa's extensive collection, which is totaling currently 16,000 artworks, which must be one of the biggest corporate collections in the country, if not the biggest. And Paul also coordinates the Absa Atelier art competition, which is one of the oldest and certainly one of the most prestigious currently in the country. And he'll speak to how it's developed and expanded across Africa out of its South African origins. Paul also manages the Absa Gallery, the Absa Money Museum, and the Absa Archives, and was responsible for the conception and design of the Money Museum that opened also in 2011. He's written and published articles and papers in his fields of specialization, and interestingly, is regarded as one of South Africa's leading numismatic specialists, which, Paul, you'll have to bring us up to speed on at some stage. Paul, over to you.
Thanks, James, and welcome to everyone that's joined in this evening. Thank you very much, and also a big warm welcome to my fellow panelists. It's really quite an honor to be sharing the platform with yourself, Bekie, and yourself, Blessing. So it's really good to see you both, and yourself, James. I thought I'd just throw that word in. It's always good to broaden our, what shall we say, learn new words. And numismatics, that refers to money, basically coins, banknotes, tokens, and so forth. So Absa does also have the only sort of money and banking museum in the country as well, which I'm fortunate to be the curator of as well. So, but James, thanks to yourself and thanks to the team at the Turbine Art Fair for really inviting me to be part of this, and just to share with you just my thoughts around, as you said, the Absa Atelier Awards, and just really speaking in terms of the broader perspective of art competitions in South Africa. I'm going to be, because I've been working with Atelier, and as Absa, we've been sponsoring it for a number of years now, and I'll touch on that. My point of reference will be around that particular competition, and I will touch on the different landscape and so on. I think just to really contextualize, and I'll talk to the different sort of questions that you did brief us on, and if I do ramble, just pull me back in line, please. But the Absa Atelier has been, this year we do celebrate its 35th year of the competition, and it's really been a competition between ourselves as Absa and our partner SONAVA, the South African National Association for the Visual Arts. Those are the two primary partners on the competition. But in addition to that, we do, through the Atelier Gerald Sokoto Award, we do also enjoy a partnership with IFAS, the Alliance Francaise, and the French Embassy in South Africa. So they've also been a partner for the competition for over 15 years, where they have also supported part of the prize, and as I said, the Gerald Sokoto Award. And when we look, and I will touch on this, I mean, when we look at the Absa Atelier over 35 years, I suppose like anything, it has evolved. And I think it's a good thing, that the competition has evolved, that it has remained relevant, that it still is able to play an important role within the visual arts landscape. Probably one of the biggest advances that the Atelier has had over its 35 years is being sponsored by Absa. Our brand and our footprint across the continent has also increased. As Absa, we have a presence in 12 countries across the African continent. So the Atelier, which initially started as a South African competition, it really, started in the late 1980s, and the reason for it being, having been founded at that point in time is there weren't as many opportunities then as there are today for artists, particularly to gain international exposure. So one of the aims of the Atelier competition, it was open to young artists. At that point in time, it was open to artists that were up to 35 years of age. And the prize that was then offered at that point in time was residency in Paris, where the artist could go spend a couple of months in Paris, gaining exposure to an international art scene, meeting and interacting with their peers, and then, of course, coming back to South Africa. So, that really, if we look at the history of where the Atelier has come out of, it's really around that in terms of providing that sort of opportunity within a landscape, that opportunity that we have today did not really exist to the same degree as where we find ourselves today. If we look at within the South African art market, we are sitting with when compared against the rest of the continent, we have a fairly mature art market, if I can call it as such. I mean, we've got a good primary market with galleries, both private galleries, corporate galleries. You've got museums. In addition to that, you've got a good secondary art market through our auction houses and so on. And then, of course, over and above that, you've got well-established art fairs, and they've been, there have been over the last number of years, that's also been increasing. And then in addition to that, we've got a number of art festivals across the country that also provide a platform to artists, such as the National Arts Festival in Matanda. We've got the Klein Karoo National Kunstcafés and so on in Oudtshoorn. So there are a number of art festivals as well that do provide that platform. So artists, in that sense, have opportunity to really get out, to gain exposure and so on, and really try break into the visual arts sector, so to speak. When we then compare the Atelier across the rest of the continent, there are not as many opportunities in a number of the countries. Some of the countries do have art fairs, do have galleries and so on, but not probably to the degree where we find ourselves within the South African market. The other thing is access to materials also does differ across different aspects of the continent, and one even sees that in terms of a lot of the material that comes out, or art production in some of the countries where there's less access to material. Those artists are having to think potentially out the box, or using found objects and things like that in the production of those materials. So the Atelier has responded in such a way to, as Absa, to our footprint across the continent where, as I said, it's no longer the South African art competition, but it is a competition that does cross across the continent, across the 12 territories or countries where we have a presence. And each of those have their own unique identities and so on. Having said that, the competition has also evolved, and I think in terms of any sponsorship that one looks at it, and I'll speak to it from a corporate perspective, you are looking at a partnership. You're looking at a partnership between ourselves as Absa, which provides the necessary infrastructure and so on to ensure that the competition can continue. You've got the rights holders such as Sonava. And then, of course, you've also got the artists, so in terms of any sponsorship, you are looking at a win-win-win sort of situation. And we've had to bear in mind as we've continued to grow, expand, and ultimately allow the competition to evolve. Because if all three partners are not benefiting from it in one way or another, that sponsorship is ultimately doomed to fail. So in that sense, there is a win sort of situation in terms of how Absa benefits from it. Talks to our role in society, where we are leaving communities in where we operate in a far better place than how we found them. It does talk to the rights holders in terms of Sonava, in terms of how they benefit and can potentially build relationships across the continent and so on with other art bodies that can come out of it. So, but in terms of the Absa Atelier, the artists that do enter do gain exposure, and then of course the winners themselves do get far great exposure around it. With the advances of technology as well, we've had to relook at the competition. And I think if you look at particularly what's happened over the last 18 months, the COVID pandemic has really wreaked devastation. I mean, the creative industry has been hugely negatively impacted. Artists have been hugely impacted. Galleries, art fairs, art festivals aren't taking place. So the whole sort of industry has been hugely impacted by it. And I choose my words carefully here, James, I suppose one of the silver linings, if I can call it that, that's come through is the more recent advances in technology. So to give you an idea, if we were having the art fair 24 months ago, we actually wouldn't have been sitting like this. We would have been sitting all around a boardroom table in a room with all our visitors actually had to be geographically present to actually partake. Now the audience can actually be anywhere in the world. Any of those that have an interest in art from across the African continent can now log in and join in. So that's, so there have been those advances in technology, and people have been more willing to accept the changes. I mean, some of this technology was there 24 months ago, but people might not have been willing to embrace the change that we've now got. What that allowed for the L'Atelier is it's also allowed the L'Atelier to evolve, where we've taken that philosophy of that old sort of adage of give an artist or give a person a fishing rod, don't give them the fish. So historically, the competition, we did provide the artist with a substantial cash prize. What we've now done is we've reworked that quite significantly, where we provide the artists with skills. So we do put them through a number of master classes, and we're able to bring in leading experts from across the globe to lead those master classes for the winners. We put them through a mentoring program where we pair them up with a leading authority within the arts community from their country, that then will mentor them and guide them for a certain period of time. We provide them with the technology such as computer, access to internet, and so on. And then we then put them into working towards a group exhibition that would tour the continent. So that exhibition would open in the Absa Gallery in downtown Joburg, but at the same time, that exhibition would tour to those artists' respective countries, grow in their presence and their brand within their own backyards, so to speak. But with technology, we've also been able to adopt a more of a hybrid approach, so that exhibition can also live online, making it far more accessible to and giving it a greater longevity to anyone interested in art from the African diaspora. So people, whether you're sitting in England or America or or the East, you can access that exhibition and acquire those works and so on. And then lastly, we do offer each of the winners through the L'Atelier a solo exhibition over a number of years, within a 5-year period. So if they're ready and they want to introduce a new body of work or so on, we would support them through that process. So it's ultimately about building their careers and giving them a foothold into the industry. I suppose the challenge to any artist, and if I had to see it on the other end, is in South Africa we are fortunate. There are a number of competitions, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. I think more opportunities there are for artists and so on. That's good. But as an artist, and Blessing maybe could speak to this more so as an artist, you can't actually enter every competition. It's just physically, it's just not possible. So I think as an artist, what you really need to do is look at what are the different competitions that are out there. Why are those competitions there? What is that competition actually offering? And look at yourself in terms of your artistic career. Where are you in terms of your career? And if you had to win that competition, how would it ultimately benefit you in terms of your career? So to give you an example, the Absa L'Atelier is open to a younger generation of artists. It is open to our focus as a L'Atelier, and it has always been for 35 years, is on identifying, nurturing, and supporting young artistic talent. So if you are more of a mid-career artist, you would then ask, are there other better competitions that are better suited to your career than, let's say, the L'Atelier? And my advice to any artist is there are a number of opportunities out there with the different competitions, but have a look at what are they offering. Why are they there, and what ultimately would be beneficial to me entering it? So again, talking to the L'Atelier, it's about, our focus is about growing the brand. And as we say to any artist, when you walk off that stage with the trophy, your journey with us actually begins. That's not the end of the journey, because then we focus on how we build your brand and how we nurture you and grow you within the industry. We are Pan-African competition. It has evolved. Technology has allowed us to do that. And for the first time this year, we did sort of experiment a bit. And maybe just to say, that's why I've got less hair than I had maybe several months ago, and it's slightly more grayer than what it was, because the entire competition was online. So that meant the artists were able to upload the entries online. The adjudication was online, which then allowed us to bring adjudicators from across the globe into the adjudication pool. And the award ceremony that will be taking place on the 7th of October will be an online live streamed event across the continent as well. So, the advantage of that is you're making it accessible. Previously, it was always a fabulous event that we had in downtown Joburg at the Absa Gallery, but then again, it was restricted in terms of numbers, from a health and safety perspective, and it was restricted by people being geographically present in that space. Suddenly, you can now take it across the continent and celebrate it. And ultimately, what we're trying to do as Absa and as NAV and all our partners is just celebrate the rich artistic talent that we have on the continent. I think so often, and I think many people have heard me say this, we look to Europe, we look to America, but we've got some of the best artists on this continent that can really stand amongst the world's best. And I think we need to, whether it's through art competitions or any other platform that we've got in the visual arts, it's how do we celebrate our artistic talent and artistic skills, and how do we as an industry support them and nurture and grow them. So I think that's just really, I think I've touched on most of the points, I hope, James. And I see my 15 minutes is up.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. There's some things I'd like to expand on a little bit later. But that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bekie Ntini from the Markets Photo Workshop. Bekie is an industry veteran with experience in media, arts, and development projects. He's worked for many years managing the Market Photo Workshops, training awards and public engagement programs, and establishing collaborations with stakeholders across the art spectrum, including embassies, civil society, grant-making networks, government departments, and I'm sure that's been a yoke to bear, international organizations and educational institutions. And Bekie will be giving us a kind of civic society art organization perspective on the Art Awards process. Over to you, Bekie.
Thank you, James. And I would like to start off by welcoming everybody who has joined us for our talk today, and also to thank Paul for that insightful, I think, conversation around what Absa does, and also to welcome Blessing as well. Quite interesting is that that what Paul spoke about and what Paul touched on is largely what the Market Photo Workshop also does. And it's quite interesting that as different spaces and different organizations within the arts industry, we seem to do quite similar work with the same intentions and with the same ideals and almost the same processes. And Paul, I'm actually quite impressed that we seem to be doing similar work. And ultimately, the overriding ideal for this work that we do is to favor the artists and to provide opportunities and create development spaces for the artists. So when you spoke, I really picked up quite a number of things that the Market Photo Workshop does. However, I will also try and build on what Paul has said and just speak about the programs that we do at the Market Photo Workshop in terms of Arts Award and in terms of opportunities for artists. Maybe my starting point is to just briefly talk about who is the Market Photo Workshop, and I'm sure quite a number of us here who are attending this know us as a space for training for photography projects, as a resource space for photography, as a space for galleries that showcase work that has been produced by photographers across the spectrum, and also a space where we basically are set to support and create opportunities for young emerging photographers, particularly from previously disadvantaged communities, to really be able to realize, I think, the work that they set out to do, in terms of the passion that they have for photography. And we've been in existence for over 32 years now. And one of our really exciting work is the work around supporting and developing young and emerging photographers. And this is where our link with awards and our link with mentorship processes come in. Just want to highlight that most of our awards, I think, are not referred to as awards. Ideally, they are awards, but we would like to refer to them as mentorship programs, where I think the emphasis is more on an opportunity and recognition of talent, but also a process for one to really go through process of developing themselves and being supported to develop themselves and being assisted with resources that include financial resources and structural resources and human resources in terms of how can one really get to grow as a photographer. And ultimately, the outcomes for these awards and these mentorship programs from our side is a solo exhibition at our main gallery, which is the photo shop gallery, a gallery space that has really seen a number of established photographers now launching their careers, and I'm speaking to the likes of Zanele Mkholi, Lebogang Khanye, Musa Nxumalo, Thandile Zolibans, and a number of photographers that are established now that launched their careers within that gallery. And some of the outcomes that we really don't see there is what Paul also alluded to. And these are outcomes where these emerging photographers that win these awards are put in a space where they can network with already established photographers and artists and practitioners that can assist them to navigate the artistic scene and really help them grow and really make them gain a foothold and establish themselves as these young and emerging photographers. So we really believe, that what we see as an exhibition at the end of this program has actually other outcomes that we can't see. It has outcomes of opportunities. It has outcomes of beginning to speak to some mentors and some support photographers and artists that come in to the picture. Your likes of Andrew Chabangu, Laura Cliff, and quite a number of these established photographers that really begin to sit and say that we can work with you, but we can also put you through our links and our network so that you can grow as a photographer and really get to network with quite a number of organizations and individuals in terms of their development. So in a nutshell, I think that's what we seek to do, and this can be summarized as a platform to launch one career. It can be summarized as opportunities that really celebrate artistic excellence, but with overemphasis on launching a career from a developmental and support point of view. And all of us are aware that young and emerging artists, particularly in our case photographers, really struggle at the beginning of their careers. And just to emphasize that our approach is to financially support, is to structurally support so that one can concentrate on developing bodies of work, concentrate on growing as an artist and as a photographer without having to worry about the struggles that one goes through as an upcoming and emerging photographer. So we really emphasize the issue of support, and we emphasize the issue that at start of one faces quite a number of difficulties. And like Paul said, our mentorship programs, which include the 10-year fellowship, which is actually the largest and the longest running mentorship program in Africa, which has been running, and we're on our 14th year now. And maybe I could use that as a reference. The age requirement for this is 35 and below. And basically emphasizing that we are trying to support and really trying to work with young and emerging photographers. How these are structured in terms of how they produce the work that they work on is that we are always emphasizing that these artists should create works that reflect their societies, should create works that have a social impact, and should create works that engage with the communities where they come from. And we are all aware that for quite a number of years, our photography in South Africa has played quite a witnessing role. We will know from the photojournalists that really documented for quite years that the approach and the ideas was to witness and show the world what was happening. But with these mentorship programs and these award programs, what we're trying to do now is a reflection on societies, which is done by young and emerging photographers that come from those particular societies, and really emphasizing the issue of social impact, the issue of social engagement, and the issue of really beginning to build on communities playing a larger role in terms of what young and emerging photographers create as their works. So that's another element that I'd like to emphasize on outside the support structure and the developmental element of our mentorship programs, that we really emphasize that the work that gets produced is a reflection of our communities, is a reflection of the societies where these young photographers come from. And to speak, I think, to part of the pointers that James you sent to us around the role that corporates play in enabling our award programs. Our experience is that we really have had quite a good experience, I think, and really beneficial and mutually beneficial relationship with corporates. And our very first mentorship program, which was the Edward Reed's a mentorship program, was supported by Anglo Gold years back. And since then, we have seen corporates coming in to really put forward funds that support, these programs and in a way support these young photographers to be able to develop and grow. Could that improve? Obviously, we believe that there's room for improvement, and I think room for improvement in terms of numbers of how many corporate organizations can come to the fore, but also room for improvement in terms of beginning to put forward, resources, particularly around finances, that don't only go through, don't only allow the mentorship process to take place, but also maybe allow a sort of like entrepreneurial life for these photographers, so that they are able also to earn a living from the work that they've done. And so I want to highlight that obviously, as the Market Photo Shop, we really would like to see that engagement, growing, and we really would like to see quite a number of corporate organizations coming to work with us in terms of developmental programs that we do. And lastly, from my side, I think to speak to how these programs have moved from just being programs based in South Africa and South African focused to being programs that have actually extended to quite a number of countries within the continent and globally as well. So with the TND fellowship that we have been running for the past 14 years, at some point we then came to an agreement that part of that award program should be an award program that really focuses on African photographers that don't come necessarily from the country, but really get to work within the ideals of the program, but producing their work in an African country outside South Africa. And our first recipient for that was Musa John Kalabo, was based in Mali. And Musa John Kalabo is, I think, for us an example of how, when you really put your heads together and when you really work so hard in terms of all the processes for these award programs, you get to have a photographer that gets to really be invested in photography and really do groundbreaking and socially engaging works. And Musa from Mali has also become, one of these celebrated emerging photographers across the continent and also globally as well. Currently, we are running one of our award programs. It's Just Photo Fellowship with a photographer from Egypt, working with a writer from South Africa. And what I'm trying to say is that these programs have created a sort of like opportunity for international engagement, for really taking the art ecosystem outside the country and really trying to make it a process where we really engage on an international basis and begin to share ideas, without boundaries, without borders, without, the limitations of spaces. And that speaks to also what Paul alluded to, of that the COVID pandemic has really been devastating in terms of how it has affected how artists work. But there is a positivity, which is this idea of really taking advantage of technology and new media and really beginning to take our works online and to create a much more bigger global audience possibility for people that can view and engage with these works. And I'm happy to announce that our very first program at the Market Forum Shop, where we invested much more in terms of an online exhibition, was a program from one of our art awards, and the Giselle Son mentorship. So our very first online exhibition was Laches by Thembinkosi Hlachwayo, who had just received the Giselle Son mentorship and gone through these processes that I've spoken about. And so we begin to see that there's more opportunities, and we are open to really engaging and trying to see how we can improve and change and make our art awards much more better, so that they can speak and really invest in the artists that they favor, and that they are actually meant to support. I think our gallery is also coming into play quite a huge role as the first space where these artists can show their solo exhibitions, where they can show their first solo projects. So I think, just from our side, I think the number of programs that we've done them from that point of view, where we are trying to support the photographers and really give them spaces and opportunities and platforms for them to grow and develop, so that they can be able to realize dreams that they have as emerging artists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bekie. See, you were worried about 10 minutes. Hold up 15.
I said I'll do the 10 minutes.
But that's a great roundup from a grassroots organizational perspective. Excellent. It ties in nicely to some of the issues that Paul raised. Our final speaker should be well known to most of you who are attending tonight, Blessing Ngobeni. Blessing has a very compelling life story to tell about his position in the art world. He came from a very tragic and abused background, which culminated in as a young teenager falling into a life of crime, and he turned to art while serving a prison sentence, and was mentored and uplifted by art while there, and has gone from strength to strength since he's re-emerged into civil society. He's the recipient of many art awards himself, ranging from the Reinhold Kassierer Award to the ACT Emerging Artist Award to the Standard Bank Young Artist Award of last year, 2020. And Blessing has also, for a number of years, undertaken off his own initiative to give back to his community by launching an artist-driven award, the Blessing Ngobeni Art Prize, and it's an honor and a privilege to have him here tonight to talk about that. Blessing, over to you.
Thank you to people that joined us today. Thank you to Bekie, and thank you to friend over there for the lovely, inspiring journey of the Art Layer Award. For me, I think as one of the recipient of different awards that I won, the role that these awards played to me, it's an example that we do need such things that can uplift, every young artist that might also in need of uplifting his own career. So for me, when I won the Renault Casero Award, it was my first time where I realized that, oh, there's some new changes that occurred after the award, because galleries poured in to want to work with me, and through that, I did not miss any other opportunities that came over me. So, and most of it I did not apply in any other hours than them recognizing the job that I was doing. Till that time when I realized that I also needed to, because the historical way of saying an artist must die first and then they will be able to use your name and all this and that. So it became in my mind that I should protect this while I'm still alive and open my own artist award, So the Blessing of an Art Prize is a prize that came like 5 years ago. It was fully funded by me till last year when we invented like projects that can also do fundraising, such as auctions, inviting other young artists to submit their works and be able to sell their works through various exhibitions that we hosted. I think because we partnered with like Aspire auctioners, whom they also opened their hands to say they would assist us in terms of helping us do this fundraising project. And the most part of it is that all the people that won, like the recipient of these awards, they managed to like push themselves. They've been traveling the world. For instance, e.g., our first winner, Tendai Mupita, he's been across like the globe through my award, actually, should I say, because what we do in as Blessing of any Art Prize team, we don't only give an artist like money. We give him like opportunities to know how to like to know other things, to know finance, to know how taxi works. So we during the period of that 3 months, we take this artist, or we invite like specialists in taxi, people who knows how to price the work, and also the legal part of being an artist. I myself, I've been like the taxman walked in and it was messed up on my side. I had to pay so much money. So those are the things that we teach them to understand at early age, so that they might not find themselves their belongings being taken away. We also during this period, we also like take the young artists to various exhibitions, museums, so that he can be able to know what exactly that he might face in the near future. So we just open that door for the artist to understand the value of being an artist, and what is the danger of being an artist as well. Because our involvement is more of like we give each other a task to be able to say we take the artist to printmaking workshop, and he have that workshop with that printmaker and have the experience of printing his work. For instance, our current winner, he's more of a performer, but through sitting down with him and see his themes and his concept, we told him like, hey, you can spread. There's so much things that you can do with what you have in your mind, and you can display those ideas in a various different mediums. So for me, I really respect ours, because they do a lot of change to artists, and most artists, they do need these hours because they place the artist in a better direction. They shape the artist. They take the artist in a different destination with his career. So I would speak because I have that experience of how it helped myself, and to realize that the importance of it is one thing, because they we place that artist in a position where he can be able to face his challenges through understanding his own values, because we allow that artist also to express himself through what we tell him, So for me, I think it is important that as a country and the people that are living in, we support these awards because they do play a great role in also protecting our youth from doing wrong stuff, So, yeah, for me, I don't have much to say because I'm a painter, so I belong to the wall, to the canvas. But most of it is that the collaboration we do with the galleries also is an opportunity for these artists to be able to. So we prepare these artists to get an entry to these galleries because, for instance, our second winner she's been doing well. She's signed with the big gallery in Cape Town, and which is something that I prepare for them to do, because if we sharpen these young ones and then the galleries, they will just pick them. And we do follow up with them inviting them to come and participate in these exhibitions. We do make a follow up to check how far they are going with their careers. And most of it shows that there is a role that Blessing of an Art Prize is playing in the society. And I believe that it's still young. It's only 5 years old, but I'm willing to take it further, to take as much as I could, because there is no way that we will just wait and depend, So we have to start doing it by ourselves and be able to say, this is us, and this is us, and this is what we own, and it's original by us, So Mina, that's what I believe in, and whoever that might also wants to be part of this award is welcome to be part of it, because we relied on the people that come in and give us whatever support that they give, in terms of mentoring, mentorship, or any other form, but most of it is that I don't see any other way that we could not win without us putting our mind together to be able to make sure that we protect these awards, So, yeah, I think for me, that's because the most of the things that you guys touched or you spoke about are the things that I'm, aware of, and the things that I'm doing. And yeah, I mean, there's so much that we can talk about, but it is important to say I thank you for inviting me today into this talk.
Great. Awesome, Blessing. Thank you. Thank you very much for that crucial perspective. Okay.
Thank you.
That is it for our panelists' initial inputs. The floor is open. The chat is available to everyone. While people are formulating their questions, I will take them as they come into the inbox. But I have a couple of discussion issues to kick us off. We'll start going around the clock again. Paul, I wanted to ask you about the internationalization of the Letelier process a little bit more. So, without the advantages that in terms of logistics and ease of communication that online platforms have brought in the last 2 years, like how have you found that internationalization process, getting artists from the rest of the continent involved and judged and through the process and even winning the award?
Thanks, James, and just thanks to both Bekie and Blessing. I mean, it's interesting to see the similarities and where we're coming from. But yeah, look, I must be honest. I think sometimes when you start in something or you're looking at expanding, and I'm sure my peers can talk to this, you don't always have a recipe to work from. So you're having to find your feet and see which works, what works, what doesn't work, and things like that. One of the advantages we do have as Absa is our extensive footprint. We do have regional offices in each of the countries. We do have a branch network, and we do have, the infrastructure that goes with it. So I think that is, we could leverage off that fairly extensively, and that was one of, that we could do as we expanded the competition. But we didn't initially go into all 12 countries initially. We can now expand it further, but moving art across the continent is expensive. I think anyone who knows it, particularly when you start moving sculptures and things like that, it becomes an expensive exercise. One of the other things we did do is we changed the price. So every year we take the 12 countries and we put them into 3 pools. We randomly draw the 12 countries into 3 pools of 4 countries per pool. And then those 4 countries within, let's say, Pool A or Pool B or Pool C, then actually compete against each other. So in the end, we also did away with having a single winner. We no longer call them a winner. We now have 3 ambassadors. So from Pool A, we would have an ambassador, Pool B, and Pool C. And of course, those pools change every year. So as South Africa, 1 year as an artist, you might be competing with artists from Ghana, Uganda, and Kenya. And the next year, you might be competing with artists from Botswana, Mozambique, and Zambia. So it's the luck of the draw of where you fall within those pools, so to speak. But it's thanks to technology that we were able to streamline and bring it online. I think, you have to, when you are running a competition across borders, across country, we are trying to get, as many artists to participate. You do need to start using technology. And I think just to maybe end off is, historically, we had a collection point in each major center. So we would have in Kenya had a collection point in Nairobi. In South Africa, for those that know the latter, we would have had one in Joburg and Cape Town and so on. But if you're coming from a more rural community or marginalized community, the expense of not only producing and, having your work ready to then ship your work to a collection point almost became a boundary to entry. So what we're now saying is, if you have a smartphone, if you have access to the internet, or then doesn't matter where you are, you can then enter the competition. And if you don't have access to the internet, you can leverage and, a branch network, can assist you and things like that, and someone will be able to assist you there. So
Awesome.
Using technology, we've opened the doors and we've made it more accessible. But on the other hand, we're now also not transporting artworks across border and across country.
Awesome. Very nice. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I've got to open the floor. We've got a question from Nonto Msomi for everyone. Can respond to this, so please feel free. The question is, with all the competitions that exist in South Africa, is there still a gap when it comes to local competitions? Whether it be the career level of the artist being missed, or the benefit of the competition, the benefit that the competition could bring to artists. This is an open question.
I mean, I can try and answer that, James. For me, I think what Blessing has said really speaks to what I wouldn't call a gap per se, but the need to really create opportunities to support each other and support artists as well, especially emerging artists. And that's what also we seek to do at the Market for Workshop. So it's not a gap per se, but the need will always be there. And one of the reasons for that need is that emerging artists often struggle at the beginning of their careers. And it might not be finances that they need, but we have all spoken about networks, we have all spoken about support, we have all spoken about just being in a space where people that have been in the industry can speak to how you can grow and support you from that perspective. So I think my colleagues can add onto that, but for me, I think the term wouldn't be gap, it will be need, and the need will always be there, and the need will have to be responded to.
Yeah, I think the gap, as you said, it's a need, and now is we do need to find ourselves with people that can understand the art industry and the role that the art can play in a society, because we have so much unemployed youth youth that have skills, and for them to find themselves in the space where they can showcase their skills, we need to cover those spaces with different awards or prizes or competitions, so that whoever it can reach even deep down in rural areas. Because if you go down in rural areas, there's nothing as art. I mean, I go down most of the time, and then you tell them, like, I'm an artist and this is what I do. For them, it's a new thing. They don't know what it is, So I think if we can start to expand these awards to these spaces, because there is a raw talent there, but it dies because there's no one that can say or encourage them to apply or to enter for a certain competition, So I still believe that there's so much gap. Hence myself, I took a step by bringing this award closer to those that might need it as a step to be in the art world, So yeah, I think people must come on board and start supporting these awards and open new awards, so that you can have a kind of competition of awards in the country, Yeah.
Cool.
If I can come in there, James, as well. I think, we've been really looking at national awards. I think there's opportunity, as Blessing has said as well, for more regional and localized awards. You can have awards within certain communities and things like that. So it becomes almost, because national awards become more difficult, because let's be honest, what is at offer is a greater prize in most cases, and more people are actually gearing for that. And again, like a competition, there can only be one or two winners that come through. So I think it's also good to have smaller competitions in communities and so on, giving those artists that experience, giving them that exposure, and almost become stepping stones to bigger awards later on. So, and that, I think at the moment, when we look at the art, the ecosystem around awards, I think there is a gap there. There's definitely a gap, and particularly into, when you look beyond, let's say, Gauteng and the Western Cape, we've got, a number of other provinces with huge talent in that, how we support and how we identify that talent.
Yeah, very true. Very true. This is another one. We've got no further questions from the floor. This is probably our last question. I'll open it up to everyone. The role that all of you from different perspectives see the award system playing on professional development. So by that, for artists, and by that I mean, like, how does it assist them in, or what is the role that awards can play in not only helping artists with a forum or with a profile, but also in their professional development, like how to mount an exhibition, how to deal with galleries, how to manage finances, all of those kind of ancillary art industry things. A lot of artists don't get exposed to and don't ever really have to think through about being, essentially entrepreneurial about what it is they do. because they're focused on producing art, which is, what they should do. But then, they get into a position where they are maybe with a gallery, or they're maybe putting on an exhibition, they're not represented, and all of these things come into play. So what's your view on how awards can help with that process? Open floor.
James, if I can come in, and allow me to come in first, if I may, I think that's one of the ways we changed the L'Atelier Prize. So, as I said, the last year, we instead of sending the person on an international residency, we've put them through 10 master classes. We put them through media training. I mean, that particular master class is between 4 and 5 hours, to give you an idea, where they go through extensive or intensive media training in terms of how to engage with the media, how to handle difficult questions, etc., etc. We put them through contractual law around intellectual property, building a trust, how do you preserve your legacy, and so on. We put them around budgeting and finance, around the use of social media and so on, because we work on the philosophy it takes 20 years to build your career, but and the examples, I don't need to mention them within the social media. On social media, it takes literally 1 minute to destroy it. We put them in terms of how to build a portfolio of artwork, how to engage with galleries, how to engage with private collectors, buyers, and so on, how to prepare for exhibitions. We talk to them around pricing of artwork and so on. So our focus has really been around skills development and the business side of art. So, I mean, most at university and that, you taught around your craft, you taught around your skills. For us, particularly being a financial institution and so on, we teach them around how do you manage your career as a business, because each artist is their own individual brand, and we work on that philosophy.
Absolutely. Guys, from your perspective.
I think to touch on what Anton is saying, we at BNEP, we've been like like mentoring them how to write their bios, how to document their work, and how to approach a gallery, how to present their work. So I think there's so much that we that can be done. I mean, than painting only, because you can paint forever, but not able to protect your work and protect yourself from, as you mentioned about, if you put anything on social media that is against whatever, then your career can come down immediately. So I've been through that. I mean, there were times where I posted a T-shirt that had different write-ups, and somebody take on me, like, saying your T-shirt is against 1, 2, and 3. But because I know how to defend myself, I was like, no, being an artist also, we create content. And for me, the interest part is that I created something that caught your mindset, and we can speak about it in a broader way, So I believe that for us, by teaching them how to find their own work, how to do text turns, and how to apply for an award, maybe of a residence, across the globe, So those are the things that we've been like doing since our award came in.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Blessing and Paul as well. It's similar with us, and the mentorship process or award process is not only about is not only artistic around the production of work. It is also around development in terms of other ancillary skills, which my colleagues have mentioned here. And how we structure these programs is that there will be the element of developing bodies of work. There's an element of the mentor coming in from their experience in terms of copyright, in terms of approaching galleries, in terms of networking, in terms of all these very critical and necessary skills. The mentor is briefed and is contracted to deal with those issues from a practical and experience point of view. And then there's another role that the Market Forex Shop as a space itself plays. As a space that has set itself up to run administratively over the years, we then use those administrative processes to allow these award winners to come in to that. So they will engage with our finance colleagues. They will be required to manage the funds for their project from a very strict financial point of management, following all the necessary requirements, the UOP, FMA, and how to get quotes and how to get these quotes approved. So all these processes that we feel like are not necessary but actually very critical. They will also come in and work with the marketing team for the Market Forex Shop. How to post your posts on social media, how to design them, and how to get them approved. They will also work with the exhibition and archives team, where they are expected to be hands-on in terms of producing an exhibition, in terms of conceptualizing it and installing it and making sure that the whole exhibition process runs smoothly. So we expect them to be hands-on. We expect them to learn these critical skills over and above them producing the work that they're doing for the award.
Yeah, cool, awesome. We have one final question that's come from our attendees, and that is, do these awards matter to gallery owners? This can be quick. This can be.
Yeah, I think
yes.
It do because once you win an award, remember that it's a media attention, so you will be like invited to a TV or whatever program that it is, or in a newspaper. Then for them, it gives them hope to work with you, because they know that at least you have something that you worked on and which caught the media. And I think it does matter, because even like right now with our in a Blessing of an Art Prize, we work with the galleries, and they come on board because they see that is something that is cooking for them. They would, after the winner, they would pick that artist and start working with the artist. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Part of us.
I mean, I think when we say that these awards are a platform and they launch careers, that's exactly what we mean. That what Blessing is talking to, that as soon as you win this award, galleries know that you will have gone through a very intense process, but also know that you would have gone through what Paul spoke about, these administrative processes, and they don't want to be working with someone that's really lacking, I assume, lacking in terms of administrative processes. So our experience is that a number of people that have taken part in our awards then get contracted and start to work with these galleries based on the fact that they have gone through quite an intense process already with us, and through this award processes that really shifts their thinking in terms of the practice, but also in terms of administrative processes.
Paul, you agree?
I agree, and just to add one final comment, I would only repeat what Becky and Blessing have said. It's recognition by your peers, because most of the adjudicators are people with credentials in the industry. So if you come in through an award, it's almost your peers saying that is someone to actually watch, or that is someone who is deserving. So yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well, it only remains for me to thank our esteemed panel tonight. Blessing, Paul, Becky, thank you very much for your insights. It was really entertaining and insightful. And thank you for your time and for your efforts. I want to, just as we sign off, remind everyone who's still in the chat and online that the Talks program has kicked off officially tonight. We will have information on further Turbo Art Fair Talks through the second part of September into October. So that will be on our usual channels and social media platforms, etc. So do keep an eye out for that. We have a really interesting program of talks planned, and there will be catering to all parts of the industry. So we hope to see you for further talks. And that's it from us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our panelists again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Bekie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Thank you.
Thank you, Anton. Nice to meet you, Anton.
Bye.
Thank you.